Okay, this election results actually took all of us by surprise. In fact, when we went about to campaign, actually we had many meetings prior to the election, and there was some confusion with regard to whether we should abstain or we vote. Then we decided we should go for voting. When we selected voting, then we are thinking about whom to vote. Then after a lot of analysis, then we said we will vote opposition. Irrespective of which party, we will go and vote opposition. That's a conclusion we come by. And then after that, we plan out a program. You know, what are the programs that we need to carry out in order to go all over the place and tell people to vote opposition. And then in that steps, we ended up with like voter education programs, as well as coming out with reading materials, analysis about the current politics, and all that. So then this question of voting opposition will delegitimize Indian representations in the government. Then we addressed that problem, because we know that if Indians were to vote opposition, there will be a potential threat from the ruling government which will say that, oh, you will lose your representation in the government. And as we expected, they actually announced that, and they came out with threats that if Indians were to vote opposition, you will lose your representation. Then we argued the same point in our analysis much earlier to all these things, that in the event that we actually convince the Indians to vote opposition, which will delegitimize MIC and ethnic-based politics, then we will, as civil society, will organize ourselves into a cohesive force to fill that vacuum, and we will say that civil society will become the representative of the Indian community to advance its issues to the extent that it becomes a national issue for every policymaker to address and the government to look into. So when we did not realize this will become a reality, and today, as we have seen in our press conference, that we have gathered back again together to express our satisfaction with regard to how the Malaysian public at large went about to remove ethnic-based participation and has put forward a step in the right direction of creating a multiracial, multi-ethnic Malaysia which can work together for its own progress.
Mr. Aru, as much as the voters actually voted, took the courage, took the risk to vote the oppositions, it is their, they overcome their fear for unknown, it's true. But deep inside, they have this fear of losing their representative. Somehow they feel, okay, now no more MIC, what are we going to do? Who's going to talk to us? They don't know the existence of civil society because it's never in them before. It's a kind of system, a pattern in them. How do you want to educate them, bring them out of that fear that you don't need an MIC or communal representative to actually to voice it out in a parliament? How are you going to educate the people right now? The fear is there. I'm getting a lot of calls and asking me, those who are in the estate, those who are in the kampongs, they don't know right now. How are you going to bring them out of that system? What are your programs like?
I think this is a new challenge to the Indian community at large. In fact, when we had our meeting yesterday, and the opening statements of many of us is we have a new responsibility to see how a kind of a disorganized and disunited Indians and Indian NGOs can be brought together under some kind of consultative platform where people can come in and express the various issues and then consolidate that kind of issues together, and forming various consultative groups within the NGO network. Like, for example, we are planning to hold professionals together to debate on the Tamil school system, and we are looking at NGOs which can lead religious issues and social issues, economic issues, employment issues, and housing problems and all that. So we are going to have groups which will look into each one of these areas, and whereby a think tank can coordinate the work of all these groups, and these issues can be brought up to the state governments and the federal government, thereby demanding them to address these issues systematically from immediate, short-term, mid-term and long-term things, and creating a monitoring mechanisms which can actually monitor these things and then report back to the community, and then vice versa, building up a multi-ethnic community in the process. So I think this is a very challenging task for the civil society itself. And we are going to continue to hold meetings with other communities groups of like Malays with Malay NGOs and Chinese NGOs and human rights groups and professional organizations, so that we can fill the vacuum suddenly created by a race-based political system. So immediately what we are doing is immediately we are getting representative from each districts to come together, because in the process of like election campaigning, we have identified grassroots level leaders and all that. So we want to group these people together and then have a meeting with them, discussions with them, enjoy the kind of change that has come about, and from there we move to the next level of what we call organizing them into voices which can be heard by the state governments. I think that's a process that we have to go through. Okay, yesterday what we have decided is we want to hold a meeting in Selangor with various NGOs which have been already working, and that Hindraf and Makkal Sakti group has agreed to organize meetings in Perak, Penang and Kedah within the next 2-3 weeks, and if these meetings materialize and if we are able to gather the local grassroots level, then it will show that we are moving in the right direction. So this is going to be a lot of work on the part of NGOs which is actually lacking a structure at the moment. So we cannot create a structure simply like that, because then it demands for leadership and things like that, and that in itself will be a beginning point for a failure. So we want to have a kind of a coalition of groups which can come together and participate for a nation building kind of exercise. No, not at all, and that we don't have in our mind. In fact, it was a suggestion by some groups that we should form an alternate. I think we are not interested in forming another Indian-based political party and then going into the same trap of what MIC has been going through or IPF has been going through. I think we want to break that pattern, and we want to believe in the kind of, this country is for every race and everyone, and that kind of approach. So we want to, but at this moment, we have got Indian-based NGOs because the issues related to Indians have been segmented for this long on an ethnic system. Therefore, we have to group together to identify this and then bring it as a national issue, so that the kind of the governments can look into that it is a governmental problem, not a communal problem.
I would like to ask about the identification of the coalition. MIC although they didn't do anything, but they were easily identified as the center to go to when you have grievance problems and everything. Right now, social, education, economy and everything, although you don't want to form a party, but would you like to be identified as one under one umbrella, under one name? So the name is like Hindrav, Hindrav, okay. How although they demand so many things and everything, but they somehow manage to get an identity for themselves. Will the coalition form an identity for people to recognize whatever you're doing?
I think this is a process of evolution, and the moment we want to identify as one, then the problems of power and leadership all will come into play. So for a start, because this is a new beginning, and all of us are taken aback that suddenly this has come about. So when we discuss about this particular issue about do we recognize ourselves as one, I think this requires a very what we call a very large extent of consultation is required. So the first round is for us to meet at state level and interstate level and at national level, and then if it evolves to identify itself as a group, then it can mature to become identity on its own. So that will take time. We want to have empowered citizens in this country who can look forward to live together in a multiracial and multi-ethnic environment, so that the fruits of this country can be enjoyed by everybody. We are looking for a better Malaysia. Yep. Thank you.